Assalamu alaikum, this is Ahmed Halleg, and this is a demonstration on how can you use Octave online on your machine. Supposedly, if you have a Mac and you are facing some difficulties in downloading and installing Octave in your machine, or even if you have a Windows and you just don't want to install Octave in your machine. So the alternative is the following. You would go to your favorite search engine and just type Octave online, and you're gonna find a site called Octave Online, right? It's basically the same ID, the same thing that we get to use in this GUI whenever we install and download Octave. You get to do the same exact stuff on this online version. So basically, I have already signed in with my personal mail. In order to make scripts and in order to use this Octave Online, you need to log in, you need to sign in their system. So you will have Google Plus, I believe, and there is a custom way to sign in. Just sign in with your credentials and we're good to go. Okay, so if you have signed in, basically here is your command prompt, which is the same as the command window down there. So we can do the same stuff we were doing in the editor or in the command window in our Octave GUI. Let's say something like hello world, and it's gonna tell you hello world, okay? And whatever you want to do, you can do it in Octave online, alright? Let's say that we want to take an input from the user. Enter a number. Alright, let's enter something like 2. Alright, and let's say X now. You'll find that X has the value of 2. Okay, so it's the same exact stuff. Let's go to the next level where we are going to use the editor and make scripts. Like we used to make scripts in Octave in the normal GUI or ID in the editor like this. Told you need to save your file, so let's save it something like one, and let's say that this actually just takes an input from the user and then it just displays whatever input that you have entered. So save this and run using F5 or this button, and you're gonna be asked to enter a number. Just enter 23. It's gonna print 23. Okay, so let's do a script, a simple script like this in Octave Online. Okay, so in order to make a script, you will find a very tiny icon here saying create empty file. Just click on it, right? And there is a pop-up notification that's gonna ask you enter the file name. All right, so let's name it program 1. Okay, and I have already made 2 or 3 scripts before. Maybe I'm just going to delete them. Gonna delete that guy, delete this, and delete this. Okay, so click on program 1 that we have just created. By default, it's gonna show you that it has this line, display hello world. We can just take it away, and let's do the same script that we have done in our GUI. Enter, oops, enter number. Alright, and display X. Now save the file, click on save. If you want to download the script, you can click on download file. Alright, it's gonna be downloaded at your downloads, right? So just save the file and click on run. It's gonna ask you to enter a number. Let's enter 4, for example, and it's gonna display this number back to you using this third line here, the display function. Okay, so this is the same thing. And for those who didn't take the third lab, meaning group 8 and 7, and I believe group 3 and 4, okay, this thing that I'm going to talk about right now is basically creating a function and calling it. Okay, so if you don't understand what's going on, that's fine. You're gonna get all of these in the second week or the next week. Okay, so for those of you which are the groups 6, 5, and 2 and 1 who took the third lab, and we have created functions together. Basically, creating a function was something similar to this. I told you that you have a main program or a main script, okay, and we needed to create a function in a file, right? We needed to name this file the same exact name of the function. So let's say that the function name is like add nums. All right, I'm going to save it. type function, oops, end function, right? Name the function the same thing at nums, the same name as this name above here. Let's say that this function takes inputs or arguments and give it some parameters like a and b, and this save let's say that this function returns an output, okay, and let's say that this z will contain the result of a plus b. You don't need to add white spaces, I'm just adding these white spaces for readability. Okay, now add this or save this and go back to your main script and just try to call this function. All right, maybe we'll just comment this out and call our function add nums. Remember that this line, basically when it's called and we will pass something like 7 and or 6 and 6, is gonna basically return a value which is this z. So I can just go ahead and display whatever value is gonna be returned. So I'm just gonna wrap this function inside the display function. Okay, run this and it's gonna give you the result which is 12, and the result obviously is gonna vary it depending on this arguments or values that you're giving inside the function. Okay, so let's do the same thing in Octave Online. If you want to create a function in Octave Online, you are going to make a script and name it the same name as your function name. Okay, let's say that the function name that we are going to create is called add, or let's make it mulnums or multiply nums, something different. Okay, so this is mulnums. Go to mulnums and just delete this guy here and say function and end function, and within the function we're gonna say that this is m, which is going to be the return or the output of the multiplication, and here we are going to write the function name which is the same name of the script that we have just created, mulnames or mulnums, right? And it's going to take two parameters or two inputs, which is a and b. It can be x and y, whatever you want, and let's say that m is going to contain the result of the multiplication of a times b. Okay, this is your function. Save the file and go to your main program and just try to comment these guys out. And you can actually just delete this right there. Okay, alright, so let's call the function. This function is gonna return an output, or it's gonna have a return value, so I'm just gonna call it within a display function and say mulnums and give it something like 2 and 6. Alright, save your file and run. Is going to give you 12. So this is basically the same thing. The hardest stuff that we have taken so far is creating functions and calling them, and this has been demonstrated in the third lab. How can you do this in the GUI? This is just me doing the same thing again, but using the Octave Online or Octave Online editor. Okay, so those of you who are having difficulties in installing Octave on their machine, which whether it's Mac or Windows, that's an alternative way where you can use the Octave Online. And by the end of the day, if you have a script, and let's say that you have written a script which is basically more than 30 lines, and this is your assignment, and you want to download it and upload it to Moodle, just click on download file and you will have your script downloaded. The same thing goes if you have functions in this main program, functions that has been used, which is like that function that you are using. So you will basically need to download this function file as well, okay, and save all of these files, like for example in one folder. Let me show you what do I mean by this. These are the files that we have just created, program1 and mulnums. Let's say that this is your assignment files. This is the scripts that you have made to actually achieve what is asked from you in the assignment in the fourth question. Okay, so put this in a folder, and let's just make sure that this folder is empty. Yeah, it's empty. So name it assignment or assignment solution, and maybe you're gonna give your ID, I don't know, something like this, whatever, and put your name. Say that your name is Ahmad, masalan, Muhammad. Notice I'm not using white spaces. Like, I'm just used to this. If you want to use white spaces in your folder name, it's fine. But remember, there is no white spaces in your Octaves or .m files. You can say program or prog and white space 1. There is no white spaces when you are naming a file in or a script in Octave. Either it's the GUI or Octave Online. Okay, scripts cannot have white spaces in their names. All right. So this is your folder, which has the function files and the main program here. You might have similar scripts for similar functions. If you have 4 functions or 5 functions, then you have 5 scripts, okay? Plus the main program script, okay? So this is your folder. You can do something like add to archive and click on create solid archive. You don't really need to click this, but it's just a habit of mine. So click on create solid archive, click OK. Okay, so you're gonna end up with this folder. This is the kind of folder that you will upload to Moodle. All right. There's another way that you can upload your files. You can upload your files like separately. Like if you want to, you have like 5 scripts like this. You can go ahead and upload all of the 5 scripts. That's one way to do it. But I believe this is more contained version. Like you have everything in one folder, and that's it. Okay.